What is going on, guys? Welcome back, and this is going to be a video on CG Cid. A reason why you guys should be using this character, these are going to be covered in this video. I know a lot of you guys have access to Cid and are just sitting on him. There's a lot of people out there that say he's really strong. There's a lot of people out there who say he's really bad. He's only good with top end gear. He's good all the time, but he does have some better builds that allow you to do even more damage with Cid. So we're going to be tackling all the different variations of Cid today. We're going to give some example builds, and we're going to go and use him in a trial fight to showcase just how powerful he is. We're also going to be going over the team compositions and characters that he plays really well with, and what you're going to want to be doing with him as far as when you're going to be using him in your party, what you need to be bringing to maximize the amount of damage with Cid. Touching on teammates really quick for Cid, it's very generalized, it's very easy. He's a chain finisher. A lot of the time you're going to be using non-elemental weapons on him, although he can use elemental weapons. But if you can get in there with non-elemental weapons, you can gear him for different killers, different jump damage from the different weapons he has available for him. So you're going to really want to be able to get in there and use the non-elemental weapons that are available to him to boost that jump damage, to boost the killer factor for the enemies that you're fighting with. So, you know, top of the head, anyone that can gain access to chaining skills to spread throughout your team is a grand slam, right? We have characters like Sylvie, characters like Fid, characters like Regis, characters like Luca, and as well as other characters such as Lilith and Riku, who are able to chain with other members of your party because they have chaining skills. They might not necessarily be able to give out those chaining frame skills to other members, but that is something that you can utilize as well as characters who have abilities that chain with Esper abilities, or two different Espers that chain together, right? Like with the Flood abilities from Kokuriku, as well as Leviathan that you can chain in there. You can use Leviathan with someone who has access to Flood. There's a lot of different stuff that you can get out there and use, guys. You do not need, I have to have exactly Fid, or I have to have exactly 2 AT chaining support, so I have to have exactly this, that, and the other thing. You can use an AT chaining support with another character that has what is it, Kondramu or whatever from the Final Fantasy 11 event. You can use that. There's just so many things that you guys can use out there. The world is open-ended with what you want to do. You can use items that chain with each other, as in weapons and gear that have abilities that chain together. You can use Espers. You can have two different characters that chain together that are supports. You can have a character that is a support that gives access to chaining things. This is one of the biggest drawbacks that I see that is actually really not that big of a deal. People hammer this to the ground that chainers or chain finishers are so hard to utilize because they need people to chain together. There are so many characters in the game that can chain as a support or give access to chains that it's not even funny at this point. You know, we have characters like I do believe like even like Ching, who just gives everyone chains. There's so many characters that just give access to chains that it's hard for me to name them all here. Just know that you want to have somebody to build a chain for Cid so he can finish on that chain. The other thing that we talked about, right, you want to have someone with an elemental imbue. There's a bunch of characters out there that can do this now that are amazing for them. We have Fid, we have Lunafreya, we have Riku, we have access to people like Sweet Luca. We have a lot of characters that do this stuff too, and it's becoming more and more easy to do. Moving into Cid's builds, we're going over 3 different builds. 2 of them are TMR only builds. There's going to be a true double hand build versus a true dual wield build. And then the last one is going to be the full super TMR build, the best sort of build you should be aiming for eventually for your Cid. Now, we're going to be looking at true spine shatter dive 0+2 here for damage against a 100 defense target. When we look at the multipliers, nothing big here, just 1 big hit, no chain finish bonus. It doesn't change between the 2, it's all the same, so we left it out, and no imperils and imbues, because across the 3 different builds, they'd all be doing the same thing anyway, so we're just leaving the number as small as possible. So the first build here, TMR only, Stoss Spear build, which is something that you guys are going to start off with most of the time. Cid is a true double hand spear user. He's got a lot of true double hand build gear and materials available to him, and this is traditionally where a lot of people start with jump, true double hand, and a spear equipped. So we have Stoss Spear, Precious Hairpin, Scarlet Moon there for the high 35 attack, Flapping Wings, Cloud's Cloak or Martial Gloves for the true double hand plus 40 attack there. Then we have the materia section here. We have Master Dragon Knight, Hero's Vow Wind, Man-Eater Plus, and Heartless Assassin here. And the thing to keep in mind here when you're building a character, when you're trying to maximize how good a character can be, generally in most fights, in 99% of fights, you're fighting some sort of enemy that's got 1 or 2, usually 1 sort of type. So this one, we'll be building all of these characters against a man, so we're using Man-Eater from Diablos. And this is very, very prevalent when you're comparing different damage dealers, especially someone like Cid, who wants to balance not just attack and killer, but he wants to balance attack and killer in jump damage. If you're not factoring in the killers in his gear are going to affect how you should gear him, then you're going to be able to just maximize more jump damage, maximize more attack, without even caring about the killers that he has to fit into his kit. And that gives you a very, 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 very poor reflection of how he's actually going to be geared in a real fight. So we're doing the true thing here, and we're going to be maximizing all three at the same time. Now this build here is going to be hitting True Spine Shatter Dive 0 +2 for 145 million damage before chain finishing, before imbues, or anything of that nature. This is going to show you the one weakness of Cid, where he needs to, you know, factor in attack, true double hand, jump damage, in killers. He only hits 215% out of the 400% attack cap, but this is still the best way to build him. And he does, eventually, he's able to cap out nearly everything. So we move over to the true dual wield TMR only build. There is going to be one caveat, one little super TMR in here. That's going to be the Spirit Lance. This is because it's from a free character, Kimahri, from the Final Fantasy X event. And this was able to be accessed by pretty much anyone for just playing the game. So the first weapon we're going to be using here is actually the Bowie knife. The Bowie knife is a dagger that he can equip, and it's going to give you access to dual wield. This is very important. A lot of people use Genji gloves and things of that nature. Using Genji glove is going to waste your accessory slot. It's going to take away a bunch of raw attack from you using Genji glove there. And if you use like a dual wield materia, you're wasting a materia slot, which could be a slot for you to put on more jump damage. It could be a slot for you to put on more dual wield, or a slot for you to put on killers. So we're using Bowie knife here into Spirit Lance, Vicious Hairpin, Scarlet Moon, 2 Hermes sandals for the dual wield in the raw attack, dual form from Radiant Lightning in the materia slot for the dual wield, Master Dragon Knight, Hero Vow Wind, Man-Eater Plus, and of course we're still using Diablos here. True Spine Shatter Dive 0 +2 here is going to be 192 million damage, so roughly like a 30% more damage increase from using this build in comparison to the true double hand build, and that is because of the way that jumps interact with dual wield. When you're true double handing a character, you do get that 1.3 average variance for lances, which means you get a 30% damage bonus, but you're hitting one time, right? You can't dual cast jumps with themselves. The game isn't going to allow you to jump 2 times and then come down out of the air 2 times. That's just not how it works. But with dual wield, you jump in the air, and when you land, you actually hit 2 times. And this actually is a big deal because you land with the full multiplier 2 times. So in essence, you're trading the little bit of damage variance bonus that the two-handed weapon's going to give you and a little bit less attack because you're using dual wield for the ability to hit 2 times, and that's going to allow you to do a bunch of stuff there that you weren't able to do before. The other one weakness of Cid that's true dual wield is that you're going to be missing out on a little bit of killer in comparison to the true double hand version. The true dual wield version has 200%. That true double hand build had 250%. But even with all of those small little drawbacks, you're still doing 30% more damage. And this is why dual wield Cid is what you want to aim for in the long run. Now, if you want to see a fully kitted out Cid, the final build here is going to be the fully super TMR'd out Cid, and this is going to allow you to do a bunch of stuff that you weren't able to do before. So you don't need this exact build, but this is just to give you an idea of what you're aiming for in the long run. So we're going to upgrade that Bowie knife to one of the super TMR versions of Bowie knife. This could be Crimson Butterfly or the Type 0 Excalibur from Kurosame. In the future, there's actually going to be good news for Cid fans out there. A free Machina that's going to give you a free super TMR that is a sword with a decent amount of attack. I think it's like 150 attack or something, that also gives you access to dual wield. So that's going to be a free upgrade in the future. We're still using Spirit Lance from Kimahri, Red Hellebore, Grand Reverie, just whatever your highest attack headpiece and highest body piece is. We have 2 upgrade packages here. You can use Raven Hearts, especially if you have the upgraded Excalibur or using the Type 0 Excalibur, you get some attack percent on there as well, so you don't really need that. So some sort of whatever your best dual wield accessories are. We have Dragoon's Wisdom, Dual Form, Hero's Vow Wind, Weapon Specialist. There's a bunch of ways to mix and match this gear so you can get your attack percent up, you can get your killer percent up, all of that great stuff. This is going to allow you, with item world rolls on one of the weapons here actually, to hit the 400% attack cap, the 200% true dual wield cap, and still have 200% killer, and still have a whopping 475% jump damage. True Spine Shatter Dive 0+2 here, without any chain finishing bonuses, without any sort of imbues or imperils, same circumstances as before, is going to land for 363 million damage. This is all against a 100 defense target like we talked about before. No one's imbued, no imperils. It's just raw damage in comparison with each of the 3 builds. They could all be imbued the same way, imperiled the same way. That's not going to change the numbers or the math between these 3 characters here, but you can see how much potential Cid has as a character, and he's one of the only characters in the game that you've been able to work on since day one. He's like a year and a half, 2 years old, that just simply gets better over time because of the true dual wield mechanic, and then in the future, he should be getting some latent abilities eventually that give him a higher multiplier on his true Spine Shatter Dive 0+2. So that's gonna be another insane thing for you guys to take away from CG Cid. So we're gonna be heading into a trial with Cid. Now we're going up against the Demon Wall, one of the tankier bosses in Brave Exvius, and Cid doesn't have any sort of natural affinities to being able to do extra damage to the Demon Wall. He doesn't have a bunch of Stone Killer or anything of that nature. So we're building the team around Cid, and you could, if you wanted to, take 2 Cids, but this is going to be just the damage of 1 single Cid. How fast can we take down the Demon Wall? How safe can we do it? And that's another thing that you can do with someone like Cid, chain finishers in general. I've been using chain finishers for a long time, because if you have the characters to build around chain finishers, you can control the damage you do, and you also can be very survivable with your team composition, because you don't need to be taking 2 damage dealers, 3 damage dealers. You can take 1 well-geared, even if it's a friend unit, but you could take 1 of your own, or maybe a very strong friend unit support character with your own damage dealer, and have all the utility you could ever want while doing enough damage to just beat the boss down. So for this, we're taking Sylvie, Luna Freya, Riku, Lilith, and Sacred Shield Charlotte. Lilith and Riku can do some decent damage here, but Cid's going to be doing the brunt of the work every 3 turns when he's landing with his jump. Outside of that, we do have basically 4 supports here on top of Sacred Shield Charlotte to tank our fights here, which is going to be very nice. Now, you do, like I said before, you want to be able to build around Cid. We've done that here. We've covered all of our roles. We have the imbues for Cid because we're using non-elemental weapons. We have the imperils for Cid to match those imbues. We have access to buffs for Cid for his attack and magic and defense and spirit and all that traditional stuff you would normally have there. We have access to building chains for Cid. We could use Sylvie to do that. We can use Riku and Lilith to do that as well. So there are lots of different options that we can do here to make sure that we can build that chain for Cid when he wants to land. The first couple of turns with Cid, as always, right, you're going to be using his cooldown skill. It's going to give a stack of Alien Mirage to your party, but it's really going to be used to buff up and allow access to his big jump the following turn. So we're on turn 2 here now, and we're going in and we're just doing the traditional stuff to the boss. We're making sure we have our breaks, we're making sure we have our buffs, we're making sure that we're imbued, ready to go for Cid. You want to imbue him and buff him. If you have short lasting buffs and imbues, you want to do that right the turn that you jump up in the air. You might want to make sure that they don't wear off, so you don't want to use like a 1-turn imbue. That's not going to work very well for Cid, because you're going to 1-turn imbue him, he's going to jump up, and then the imbue is going to wear off the turn that he lands. So you want like a 2-turn, 3-turn, 4-turn, 5-turn imbue. It's going to help him out a lot, just as long as you can make sure that that imbue's there. So he's going to go up in the air, and the boss is going to be doing the Demon Wall stuff here, doing damage to our party. We have Sylvie provoke tanking, I do believe, with some dodge, and then we are using Sacred Shield Charlotte to magic cover some of that magic damage. We have Earth Resist in our party. Just a general mix of things that you need to mitigate damage from the boss. And then Cid is going to be doing a large majority of our damage here. We're going to make sure that we can build our stuff up here with our chains with Lilith and Riku, and this is going to be done quite well, if you'll see how much damage that Cid does do. So we're going to set ourselves up here. We are imbued, we are having imperils on the boss, and then we're going to absolutely smack the boss into oblivion. As you can see, we're doing a little bit of damage with Lilith and Riku there, but that is taking the boss from 99% all the way down to a whopping 63% with 1 real damage dealer. And the majority of that damage, you saw the damage of the HP for the boss go down in 2 big chunks. That was partially a little bit of Lilith, but the vast majority of it was Cid, true dual wield build here, hitting 2 times with that jump, because dual wielding allows you to hit twice. Your jumps will actually hit 2 times, land twice, comparison to a true double hand build, which, as in the build section that we went over, we elaborated on. And that's how powerful Cid is here. So Demon Wall is just gonna go down to a couple more turns of this. We're just gonna keep doing the same thing. Right, next turn we're gonna use Cid's cooldown skill. Again, we're gonna keep this rotation where you cooldown skill, you jump, you land, you cooldown skill, you jump, you land, you cooldown skill, you jump, you land, and all that damage is gonna go out in big chunks every 3 turns. When he lands, that's when the big chunks are coming out, which is very, very nice, because a lot of these bosses that we have nowadays, if you guys have been fighting them, they have these certain mechanics where they buff their defense and spirit at certain times that are underspellable. Usually after you hit them for a bunch of damage, they're like, okay, well, you hit me for a bunch of damage, I'm not going to allow you to hit me for a bunch of damage again. And Cid can play right around those. I mean, it could be a weakness as well, right? If you know, you want to land the turn that a boss defense and spirit buffs, then you're not going to be able to land it. But it's all dependent on you being able to play around the boss and the mechanics, because it could be a downside. It's also a huge benefit at times, right? Where you have these turns where you're planning, I'm going to do big burst on XYZ turn, and you just jump. So you land on the turns when the boss is clear and free of all of those buffs, and you put all your imperils back on, you put all your breaks back on, and we're just going to do exactly that to the Demon Wall here. So we should take him out in a couple of turns. I do believe we beat him by like turn 9 here, and we're just going to be more of this. If you want to see it in action, we're going to let the footage play out. But thank you guys for the support. You guys are excellent out there. Hopefully you found this sort of guide constructive for him. I've been a big advocate of Cid for a long time. He's shown up in all of my videos of why you should be using Cid. Cid's an old character, and he just works really well, and he still does insane damage for how old he is. He's like, what, 1.5 years, 2 years old now? And maybe one day we'll get latent abilities for him on top of that. That will be a huge boon. It's going to make his multiplier and his jump go from a 40 times mod up to a 60 times mod, which then it gets even buffed higher because the base mod of it is higher, so the jump damage mod is better. It just makes him even that stronger as a character. And for such an old character, he's got insane longevity. So if you want to do big burst damage, Cid is there for you. And on top of that, even outside of the big burst damage, he clears fights. You know, even if you're not one-shotting stuff, you can see we're not one-shotting Demon Wall here, but we're going to kill it in 3 hits. Just 3 big hits with Cid, and if we had 2 Cids in this fight, we could have cut out one of these supports for sure. Like Sylvie and Lunafrey are kind of overlapping in their department. We could have used a little set support tank, taken the Sylvie out, brought my own Cid, and then we would have just, in 2 rounds, we would have clapped them for the first time down to like 30%, and then clapped them again, and the boss would just be gone. It would just be, it'd just be over at that point. So that is another thing that you can do here. This is just with 1 Cid though, just to showcase the absolute power of Cid himself. So like I said, if you want to see more stuff like this, go ahead, hit that subscription button, notification bell on. Thank you guys for the support. It helps out a ton with interaction. Comment down below if you are finally able to realize how to use Cid, because I've seen a lot of people say, I have him, but I don't really know how to use him. I hear he's really bad, sort of thing. He's not bad. He's a phenomenal character, especially for how old he is. He's still way up there once you give him the love and the care that he deserves. But until then, guys, stay safe out there. Thanks for the Patreon support. Thank you guys for the YouTube channel partnership stuff. That stuff helps out tremendously. It really does. And I appreciate everyone that is doing that, on top of everyone who's just here to enjoy the content. So thank you guys. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.